Hello and welcome to the Creative Projects Grant FY27 grant webinar. My name is Jackie Banks-Malum. I'm Director of Programs for the Illinois Arts Council, and I'm joined by two of my colleagues, Jerome.
Hello, I'm Jerome Grand, Program Director.
Jasmine.
Hi everyone, my name is Jasmine Robertson. I'm Program Representative.
This webinar will give you an overview of the guidelines and application process for the Illinois Arts Council's FY27 Creative Projects Grant, also known as CPG. In today's webinar, we're going to review information about the Illinois Arts Council, applicant eligibility, a CPG overview, the application process, how to use Salesforce, which is our online grant platform, process, notification, and compliance, and ways to connect with the Illinois Arts Council staff. The Illinois Arts Council is a state agency governed by up to 21 private citizens chosen for their demonstrated commitment to the arts, and they are appointed by the governor. We get the majority of our funds from the Illinois State Assembly and a small portion of our funds from the National Endowment for the Arts, and we were founded in 1965. Our mission is to build a strong, creative, and connected Illinois through the arts, and we do this by offering support to the Illinois arts sector, advancing arts education, and fostering creativity and working artists. The Creative Projects Grant has a goal to support artists and organizations in arts projects. Applicants may request up to $12,000 with no cash match requirement. All projects must have a public release or presentation.
Thank you, Jackie, for the introduction, and I will take it on from here to give you more details about information about the Creative Projects Grant. Again, my name is Jerome Grand, and the goal today is not to go over every detail that is in the guidelines, but rather give you the important information that you may find helpful in putting together an application. I highly recommend that as you put together your application, you also download a copy of the guidelines and read them in their entirety. The first thing I'll go over for the Creative Project Grants general information is who's eligible. Individual artists and arts educators who are 21 years or older and have been established as Illinois residents for a minimum of 1 year and who are currently not enrolled in any degree obtaining programs. PhD candidates may apply once they've completed their coursework by the application deadline. Also eligible to apply to this grant are registered 501c3 not-for-profit organizations that are in pre-qualification status with the Grant Accountability and Transparency Act, referred to as GATA, and we'll talk more about that later. Additionally, branches of government are eligible to apply, such as municipalities, counties, libraries, park districts, and so forth. Who's ineligible? Currently, recipients of the FY25 Creative Catalyst Grant, the FY26 Creative Project Grant, public K-12 districts, schools, and charter schools. For those, we recommend you look at the Creative Learning Grant for funding opportunities. And finally, with the exception of state colleges and universities, state agencies and their affiliates are also ineligible to apply to the Creative Projects Grant. Additionally, here are some application restrictions. Applicants may only submit one application per fiscal year. Colleges and university arts program may apply for CPG only if the project benefits and is accessible to the general public. Events that are normally part of regular or academic programs cannot be funded with this grant program. We also have a restriction on any organization that is currently receiving general operating support, and they must demonstrate if they're applying for a project, how this project is unique and outside of their daily operations and programs. And we'll go more on how applications who receive GOS can do that later on. Additionally, collaborative applications from individual artists are acceptable, but the applying artist will be fiscally responsible for the award, including taxes. Individuals may not apply on behalf of a 501c3 or branch of government for a project, and a project may only be funded once. Multiple applicants may not apply separately for the same project. The Creative Project Grant is an open deadline grant program, and we ask that once the application is open, that the application is submitted a minimum of 8 weeks prior to the project start date. We have a regional model for our grants for these Creative Project Grant, and applications per regions will remain open until funds are fully expended for that region. So make sure to check our website to see when regions are closed. So they might close at different rates. For the grant period, we ask that it's at least 8 weeks after the application submission, and it can go until the end of the grant period till August 31st, 2027. And the award amount is up to $12,000 with no matching requirements. And do know that for individual artists, this award is taxable income, and you will receive a 1099-G from the comptroller for the year you receive the payment. So let's talk more about Creative Projects Grant and what constitutes an arts project. So CPG will consider projects in arts, craft, design, dance, digital media, film, video, literature, music, performance, photography, theater, visual arts, ethnic, folk arts, traditional arts, community-based arts, and more. The possibilities under this Creative Projects Grants are vast, and there's no, the project can take on many different forms, but we do ask that applications should clearly demonstrate meaningful human authorship and creative leadership within any artificial intelligence assisted work. Another requirement is that the arts project must include a public release or presentation during the grant period. And a CPG grant may only support a single project during the grant period. While the project may have multiple activities like a class, performance, etc., it may not be used to bundle multiple distinct projects. There are also types of ineligible arts practices, including therapeutic arts, software development, computer engineering, culinary, cosmetology, fitness, martial art. Additionally, the grant, as I mentioned, is pretty open in terms of the possibilities, and we allow a whole range of expenses, up to 15% of administrative expenses for organizational applicants that may include staff salaries, rent, etc. For individual applicants that may include fees to self, studio rental, etc. Fees for artists, teaching artists, and contractual personnel are also part of allowable expenses of this project. We do ask that all artists, companies, and ensembles that receive money from this grant must be Illinois residents. Equipment may not exceed $3,000. You can purchase consumer supplies, marketing and promotion cost, project documentation cost, travel and lodging, as long as they are cost effective and within the state of Illinois. Unallowable expenses include payments to artists, companies, ensembles that are not based in Illinois, out-of-state project activities or touring, regranting or cash awards, food, alcoholic beverages, and so forth. All this information is in the guidelines, and I encourage you to make sure to read them carefully to make sure that when you submit an application, you are within the allowable activities and expenses. Creative project grants, as I mentioned, has two possible eligible candidates, either individuals or 501 or organizations, 501c3s or governmental. For individuals, the requirements are slightly different. Individuals applicants must apply utilizing IAC grant portal with an individual account registered to the applying individual artist. Individuals must submit a valid ID or driver's license that has not expired and demonstrate a minimum of 1 year of residency in the state of Illinois. Organizations must apply utilizing IAC's grant portal organization account that is registered to the applying organizational entity, have a valid FEIN and UEI number entered in the IAC grant portal's applicant information tab, and be pre-qualified in the state's Grant Accountability and Transparency Act GATA system at the time of application. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about GATA, as this is a new requirement this year for the Creative Projects Grant. So GATA, the Grant Accountability and Transparency Act, is a state of Illinois requirement for all organizations that receive funds from the state. And organization applicants must complete a validation process through the state of Illinois' grantee portal to obtain a GATA pre-qualification status. The goals of GATA is to remove duplicative processes and increase accountability and transparency. The information that is needed for GATA are the fiscal year end date, organization type, the Illinois Secretary of State file number, the Federal Employer Identification Number, or FEIN, and an active SAMS.gov registration, as well as a UEI number. The URL for the portal is listed here, and if you're new to GATA, you must create a new account by clicking the button Create Account. If you're returning, click on Grantee Portal Sign In. And if you're not sure, I would encourage you to check with your organization to see if you may already have an account in GATA. So organizations must be pre-qualified in the GATA system at the time of application. And you'll notice on this image on the right, this is what being pre-qualified means. Everything is green and everything is good. Pre-qualification demonstrates that an organization has met all legal requirements and is in good standing. Status must then be maintained throughout the life of your grant. Here's an example of what it would look like if your organization is not in good standing. Items in red require your action. So in this example, we can see that the SAM.gov account, the UEI is not found, and the Illinois Secretary of State is also not found. You can see that there are help buttons next to each row that can give you further indication of how you can adjust this. You can also notice that items in yellow are being evaluated by the state. Their status could take up to 1 business days to change. So a little bit more now about GATA, SAM.gov, and the UEI number. So SAM.gov, SAMS.gov registration must be validated annually. Your entity's SAM.gov registration should be set to public, not private. Otherwise, GATA, it will not properly sync with GATA. The UEI number stands for Unique Entity Identifier, and that's required to have. And it's also important to note the difference between signing up with SAM.gov and registering. Signing up will provide grantees with their UEI, but it does not mean that the account is fully registered. Registration entails TIN and cage code validation, as well as other processing and validation. New registration can take an average of 7 to 10 business days. So if you recommend you start this as soon as you can to make sure that by the time you submit the application, your GATA is good to go. Other GATA grantee portal tips. So you have to maintain current and accurate contact list. You can click on manage for that. And make sure that your fiscal year end date is accurate within the system. We also have a whole set of resources that are available in the guidelines if you need more information on how to use the GATA system. They're located on page 5. There's the State of Illinois GATA New User Guide. We have our own IAC Grant Accountability and Transparency Act webpage. And there are also these wonderful videos that were made by the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity that are a great resource as well. So we make all those available for you at this time. So next, how to apply. First, recommend read the guidelines and verify eligibility. Next, prepare all application materials and supporting documents. Log into the IAC Salesforce Grant Portal, enter or update applicant information, create application in Salesforce, enter application materials, and successfully submit to IAC. So that is overall how you should proceed in this process. Now I want to go a little bit about application overview, the materials and documents that you need to prepare for an application. And those consist of 3 general categories. There are form fields with narrative prompts and information fields. There are supporting documents, and there is a budget. We realize that no application when submitted can be more than an informed estimate of activities and costs to occur. But careful planning will ensure that the financial support requested will be adequate to carry out the arts project. So a great way to have a successful arts project is to submit a successful application and have all your materials ready and understood. Some of the key narrative prompts and information requested for an application. There's a project start date and end date, a project location, a description of arts project, and you will find in the guidelines there's a specific narrative prompt for this. And here it's briefly describe the main activities of the project for which you're requesting funds with a maximum of 2,000 characters with spaces. So the goal here is to succinctly describe what the main activities of the project you're applying for. It's important to respond just to the narrative briefs and to be very concise in your information. You can find all of the narrative prompts in the guidelines, but I also talk, for instance, of the timeline. Here, list in chronological order the anticipated dates of the main activities of the project to take place during the grant period, including the public release or presentation. And importantly, the anticipated dates must include month and year and be within the grant period. So make sure when you're completing this application that you give us all of this information. There's also requests about public release or presentation where you're asked to briefly summarize the public release or presentation that will take place during this project. And additionally, I'm going to not talk about all of them. Again, all the information is the guidelines, but I do want to talk about the additional prompt for organizations that receive general operating support. As we see, this is an issue, has been an issue for a lot of applicants in the past few years. If the organization is an IAC General Operating Support grantee, they must describe how this project is unique and not part of their daily operation and programming. So organizations that receive general operating support can apply, but they have to demonstrate how this is distinct from their general operations and programming. So again, you can see all the prompts for these form fields on page 15 of the guidelines. And before you even open the grant portal, I would recommend you write out all of the information that will be needed when you apply for these different prompts. The second part of the application are supporting documents. The supporting documents to be provided here are for everyone, the proof of project feasibility, and for individual artist applicants, you must also provide valid Illinois driver's license or state ID and 1 year of residency verification if necessary. So I want to go into proof of project feasibility. This is a supporting document that should provide proof that this art project can take place. As I mentioned earlier, creative projects can fund vastly different types of projects. And so it is up to the applicant to provide evidence and documentation of feasibility in a clear manner. Projects vary greatly, and there's not a singular template here. So on the first page, list what is included in this attachment, including information on the people involved, projected budget cost, planned locations or venues, and additional budget support if necessary. On the subsequent pages, this is where you provide the proofs of project feasibility, and this can be a whole set of different things. It could be memos of agreements between different parties, contracts or letters of intent. It could be emails between the mutually involved parties discussing details of an upcoming project that you're working on together. It could be documented price estimates from vendors, including screenshots or emails. Please note that expenses over $500 must include some documentation from a vendor and not solely cite past experience as cost justification. Examples of past work may be added as demonstration of past practice, but by itself, it does not replace documentation specific to the proposed project. So take some time to gather all the proof of project feasibility that makes sense for the project for which you're applying for. Additionally, for individual artists, applicants who must also submit the ID and 1 year residency verification necessary. A valid ID cannot be expired. So at the time of application, it can't have expired. And if the Illinois ID is less than 1 year old at time of application, you must also submit additional pieces of residency verification, things like the previous Illinois ID you have, or a utility bill, or a W-2, or a 1099, things that will verify you've been in Illinois for at least a complete year. The third element of the application is the budget. And it's set up with two tables. The first one is a table that lists the IAC expenses up to $12,000 for which you're applying for. So these are the funds you're requesting from us. It can be for contractual services, space rental, travel, lodging, marketing, supplies, equipment, and up to 15% administrative caps, and other, where you have to specify. And each row will have a column for the actual cost as well as description. And I do want to mention here the 15% administrative expense. This is the funds you can use of the creative project grant to pay yourself. So organization applicants may include staff salaries, rent, etc. Individual applicants may include fees to self, studio, rental, etc. This is the only budgetary line item allowed for individual applicants to include self-pay. So if you're an individual artist, you can't include artist pay for yourself in addition to the 15%. There's also a second table that's available if there are non-IAC expenses. So additional expenses that are not included in your request, you can list them there. It's not mandatory, but if it's applicable to your project, list these non-IAC expenses with their cost, description, and source of income. So that is the application overview in terms of materials and documents to prepare for an application. Again, those are the form fields with their narrative prompts, the supporting documents, and the budget. There are also application worksheets at the end of the guidelines, one for individuals, one for organizations, that can help you put together all the materials and also make sure that you're eligible to apply. Next, once you have all of your materials together, the next step is to access the grant portal. So we use a grant portal powered by Salesforce to accept all of our application. The URL is listed here as well as in our guidelines and on our website. If you already have a user account, use your existing user account information to log in. If you do not have a user account, create a new account by clicking the Not a Member link and complete the form with name, email, and password. Some Salesforce tip, use Chrome as your browser. If there have been any staff transitions in your organization, you will need IAC staff assistant to change account owners. If you're having trouble creating a user account, try resetting the password in case you already have an account in the system. And if you're stuck in a password reset loop, which happens a lot, unfortunately, contact the IAC staff and we will help you get unstuck from the password reset loop. So you have your login for the grant portal. Next step is, how do you submit the application? Here are the 6 different steps you need to go through. The first one is to complete or update applicant tab information, the applicant information tab. And this is different whether you're applying as an organization or an individual. You could see the guidelines page 11-12 for full details of what is requested. I'll just show you briefly. For individuals, you can have things like name, artist name, general contact information, and so forth. For organizations, there's a whole set of things that you have to enter. All that information is in the guidelines page 11 and 12. And do note that the applicant information tab may be updated at any time. So please keep the information current to ensure that communications from IAC reach you. And you can also do this even before the application opens. So you can do this anytime. You could do it now. That's a great way to make sure that you're ready to apply. Once you have the applicant information tab completed, and the next step is to select a grant program under the grant program tab, and you'll be selecting the Creative Projects 27 individual artist application or the Creative Projects 27 organization application, depending on which one's applicable to you. Then a window will open, and this is where you can enter the form fields discussed previously. There will also be a whole set of checkboxes for you to check to verify certain eligibility requirements. All that information is listed in the guidelines page 15. Once you hit save on this window, you can always come back to the application later, and you will also be brought to the window to upload supporting documents and enter financial information. So first, uploading supporting document. This is where you can upload the supporting documents that we discussed previously. see the guidelines, page 17, you should be able to upload the PDFs to the system, and it will show up as uploaded once that's done. And then there's a financial information budget tab where you can enter the budget information that we discussed previously. Again, you can look at guidelines page 16 if you want more information for that. And then finally, the last step is to certify and submit. Please note that this is a two-step process to both certify and submit your application, and recommend looking at page 12 for details about the certification and submission of your application. So once you've done all this, your application is complete and submitted. And the next step now is we're going to go through a Salesforce live demo and website walkthrough with Jasmine, and I'll stop sharing my screen right now.
Thanks, Jerome. I'm now going to do a step-by-step walkthrough on how to complete your Creative Projects Grant 2027 application. You're going to start by going to the Illinois Arts Council website. Please review the Creative Projects Grant webpage, which can be found under IAC Grants under both the Artists and Organizations tabs. You'll find the Creative Projects Grant here and you'll click Learn More. This page provides general information about the grant. These buttons at the top here will take you to the Creative Projects Grant information pages, including the link to apply. Further down on this page, you'll see general information, eligibility requirements, application tips and tools, review criteria, and links to our pre-recorded webinar and drop-in sessions, as well as the timeline and frequently asked questions. A button that I want to call out at the top here is the Find Your Regional Program Director tool. This will allow you to confirm who your regional program director is before applying. If you're located in any of our metro regions, which include the counties listed at the top here, you would search for your program director by entering your zip code. So you would enter your zip code into the search bar here, and it will let you know who your regional program director is. If you are not located in one of our metro regions, indicated by these counties listed at the top, you would select your county from the drop-down list here and click Apply Filter. And the tool will let you know who your assigned program director is, along with their contact information. To begin your application, you'll go to the Creative Projects information page and click Apply Now. After logging into the grant portal, you will be taken to the grant portal homepage. Please note that if you do not have an account, on that login page, you will click the words "not a member," and that will take you to a page where you're able to create your account. Before you begin your application, please be sure to update your applicant information, and you can do that by going to the Applicant Information tab on the far right side of the portal here. If you're making updates to an already existing applicant, you would simply click on the name of that applicant and update whatever information needs to be updated here. If you're creating a new applicant, please click New, and you'll be asked whether or not you are applying on behalf of an organization or individual. From there, you're going to fill out all of this required information on this applicant information form. Everything you see here with an orange asterisk is required. Please note that the zip code and county fields are drop-down fields. So you would enter your zip code and select from that list, and do the same for your county. Once all of that information is complete, you'll click Save, and you will see that applicant saved under your applicant list here. To start a fresh application, you will go to the Grant Programs tab. It's the third tab at the top of the grant portal here. And from there, you'll select the appropriate Creative Projects 2027 application. So you'll choose between the individual artist application and the organization application. Once you've selected your application, you'll be taken to this general page here that gives you a description of the grant program and gives you the button to apply. To complete your application, you'll click on that apply button. And I also want to call out that before you begin your application, please be sure to have your guidelines open. Those are going to be super helpful in answering any questions as you go through completing the application. On the first page of the application here, you'll complete all of the fields and checkboxes shown here. Please be aware that those zip code and county fields are similar to the ones on the applicant information page, where you'll need to select your county and zip code from the drop-down lists. Also, please note that the project start date needs to be at least 8 weeks after the date of the submission of the application. If it's not at least 8 weeks out from the submission, you will get an error message from the system and it will not allow you to submit. So please be sure that those dates are at least 8 weeks out from the date of submission. After you have entered all of these fields and checkboxes here, you'll go ahead and click Save and go to the next portion of the application that will ask you to upload your supporting documents and complete your financial information. To upload your supporting documents, you'll do that by clicking into the Supporting Documents tab on the left side of the screen here. This is where you will upload your proof of project feasibility, your driver's license or state ID, and your 1-year residency verification. And you'll know that those documents are uploaded because they will glow green when you hover over them. To complete your financial information, you'll also go to the left side of the screen. That tab is right under Supporting Documents. Here is where you're going to enter all of the projected costs for the different aspects of your project, along with a description for each of those costs. Please note that the request amount will auto-populate at the bottom here, depending on what amounts you enter into these fields. And there is also a section at the very bottom here to list costs that will not be provided for by the Arts Council grant, along with a description and a place to enter the source of those costs. After all of that information is complete, you'll go ahead and click Complete and go back to the second portion of the application. Once all 3 parts of the applications are filled out, you'll go to these buttons at the very bottom on the left side of the screen here. There's one for previewing your application and one for submitting. That preview application button is going to generate a PDF of your application that allows you to look over it before you submit, which will look like this. And once you are ready to submit your application, you'll click that orange Submit button. After clicking that button, it'll ask you to certify the following statements. You'll click Agree. And from there, you will submit your application. That's all for completing your Creative Projects 2027 application. If you all have any questions as you're going through and completing them, please feel free to reach out, and we look forward to receiving your applications. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Jasmine, for that wonderful live demo of the Salesforce grant portal as well as the website. And we'll continue the slides. So now that you've submitted your application, the next step will be the review process. So the Salesforce grant portal will issue an application number for your application. And that's a great way if you ever have questions about your application, do include that number in your email. That'll make it a lot easier for us to find the application you're emailing about. Ineligible or incomplete applications will not be reviewed. So we take in applications as they come for this program when the creative project grant is open. And ineligible and incomplete applications will not be reviewed, so they'll be taken out. And then those that are eligible and complete will be reviewed based on the criteria that are listed in the guidelines. And once you get notification of whether you receive funding or not, feel free to reach out to your program director for any feedback on the review. So the review criteria are application completeness. That's the first very important criteria. The second one is eligible arts project, whether or not the project, the application, the project that the application is describing is within the eligible arts project of the program. The third one is confirmation of project feasibility, so that the application demonstrate that this project can take place. And the fourth review criteria is eligible to receive funds from the state of Illinois. One of the big changes we've operated in the recent years is most of our criterias now, at least for this program, this creative project grant, are yes, no criteria. So if your application checks yes on all these review criteria, and if there are funds available, then you will receive funding for your application. So as I mentioned, CPG is an open deadline grant program. Applications will be accepted until allotted funds have been expended. And we do this by regions. Well, we do this by region. So each IAC region has its own allocation of funds, and these will be expended at varying rates. So you may see that the Chicago Metro may close sooner than the East or West region of the state. So it's important, check the IAC website before applying to make sure that the region from which you're applying is still open and accepting applications. So notification, acceptance, payments, and reports. All applicants will be notified by email of funding decisions. Some email systems direct our notification to spam, unfortunately. So we recommend that you mark the following emails as safe in your email system. So no reply webmerge.me and insuresign@sendinsuresign.com. Those are all the emails that are used by the grants office to send out notifications and grant agreements and so forth. For awards to be processed, all grant acceptance documents must be submitted to the IAC grants office via the IAC Salesforce grant portal. Once all the paperwork is in and the grants have been vouchered, the payments are sent to the state comptroller, and they are the ones that are issuing the payments. And that process can take anywhere to 2 to 6 months. So please understand that depending on the timeline of your project, you may receive the funding before, in the middle, or after your project concludes. So please be aware of that as you're applying. All creative project grant awardees will be required to complete and submit a final report no later than September 30th, 2027. Additionally, we ask that grant recipients must credit the IAC in all promotional material and public notices in the following manner. Grantee acknowledged support from the Illinois Arts Council with our logo. Additionally, if you're putting together an application and you have questions for us, we offer 1-hour drop-in sessions for further discussion and to answer questions during the application process. So these are kind of office hours that we make available. There's no presentation. You do not need to register. All you need to do is on the date and time of the drop-in session, click on the link and join our office hour, and we'll be available to answer your questions. All the links are provided here, as well as under the workshop and webinar page at arts.illinois.gov. If you have questions for your program director, you can email us. Our emails are here, and that's probably the best way to reach us, as we still work on a hybrid remote way. And emails are the most effective way of getting a hold of your program director. And if you don't know who your program director is, Jasmine demonstrated how you can look up your program director by using the Program Director Finder tool that's listed on our website. So this concludes the FY27 webinar for the Creative Project Grant. Thank you very much for spending this time with us, and we hope that this will help you submit a successful application, and looking forward to hearing from you.